Wow. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me once again. Today, we're going to be talking about the new film, Barbarian. Barbarian was one of those rare occasions where I was able to go into a movie completely blind without knowing anything about it. And that's probably the best way that anybody can watch it. So I'm not going to say a whole lot about the plot just because it was like a carnival ride that I didn't know I was getting onto. The only thing that I will say about the plot is that it is about a woman who seems to be double booked in an Airbnb, and she tries to figure out what is actually going on. I would be doing you a disservice if I told you any more past that. So we'll just jump right into the positives, first of which is that this feels like a student film that just so happens to have a good budget behind it. Usually whenever somebody says that a movie seems like a student film, it's a negative thing, right? But for the kind of movie that this turns out to be, this really just feels like somebody with a camera had two friends and they wanted to make a scary movie. And that lent so much to the good time that I had with Barbarian. You could have easily done too much with a movie like this. You easily could have made it too uncomfortable, too artsy, too whatever. But they really found a lane, stuck to it, rode it all the way to the end, and it was great. A big part of the reason that it worked so well is Bill Skarsgård, because we all know Bill Skarsgård at this point as Pennywise, so you just immediately distrust this guy as soon as you meet him because it's Bill Skarsgård. But because he does such a good job of making you not really sure how to feel about him, it makes it super easy to slip into the shoes of our main lead as she's trying to get a read on this guy, essentially. And when it's just these two, it was really, really good. They have these conversations where they're trying to figure each other out by just doing small talk, but then he also tries to play the role of someone who's trying to make sure that she's comfortable and doesn't find him weird, but he also pushes a little too much on trying to make sure that she doesn't think he's weird, which makes her think that he's weird, and it's just really fun watching these two bounce off of each other like that. Something else that made me like it a whole lot, which might make other people dislike it, you just kind of got to know yourself and what you're into. This is a B movie. Like, if this didn't have Bill Skarsgård and Justin Long attached to it, I could absolutely see this ending up in Walmart somewhere. But I like that there's a turn that happens at the end of the first act, beginning of the second act, that really lets you know what kind of movie this is. And as soon as it clicks, you start to see what I mean by it seems like a student film, but I mean that in the best way possible, because one of the great things about horror is how many things you can say about it as far as commentary goes. But another great thing about horror is that it can just be ridiculous. And that's where Barbarian sits. It is ridiculous. And I love it for that. It's a very simple movie, so moving right along, not yet to the negatives. I don't usually do in-between type feeling things, but I will put one here specifically for Justin Long. I usually really like Justin Long whenever he pops up in something. But here, he's basically just playing the same character that he did in Tusk. And I didn't like Tusk. He's just an absolute douchebag. And that's it. He doesn't change much or at all whatsoever over the course of the film. And at first, I hated it. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy what he was doing. He just got under my nerves and I wanted him gone as fast as possible. But as he actually starts to incorporate himself into the story, it's fine. It is the one aspect that I feel that they did do a little too much. Like if it were a student film, these two are taking it very seriously and are using this as a way to stretch their acting abilities and really delve deep into this character and what they want and who they are. And Justin Long is the director's friend that he brought on because he needed another person. So normally I would hate it. I would hate it a lot, but in a weird way, it still fits the vibe of the movie. It still fits into it. He's just doing more that I dislike. He doesn't ruin the movie at all. In fact, there's a couple of points where he brings much needed levity and comedic relief to the situations that are happening, but it's still a little too much. And really the only true negative that I have is the very end, like the literal end right before the credits roll, because it just kind of stops. And then when the credits hit, I just sat there expecting more to happen, but nothing did. The whole movie kind of teeters on this line of, this is a really fucked up and outrageous scenario, but it could happen. And right at the very end, it just jumps all the way over into, okay, this is complete fantasy. I'm being incredibly vague, and I know that, but it's because I want people to go into this as blind as possible. So for a quick and breezy horror movie, you get a quick and breezy review. I like the vibe of the whole thing. These two are really good. This guy is a lot to take in at first, and something happens right at the very end that I think is too ridiculous even for the rest of the movie. And with all that in mind, I'm gonna say that Barbarian gets an A-. Like I said, you really have to know yourself and what you're into before you watch Barbarian. This is very much just a cheesy, bloody, goofy-ass horror movie. If that's what you're into, you might have a good time. If it's not, it's probably not for you. So, have you seen Barbarian yet? If you have, let me know down in the comments what you thought about it. Or, what is your favorite outrageous horror movie that's not a slasher? Let me know what that is in the comments as well. Go ahead and check out my social media, plus all the other content that I've put out recently, like behind the scenes vlogs and a new song. The links to all of that will be down in the description. But before you do anything, go ahead and hit the like and the subscribe so that I can see you guys next time.